What's up, guys? It's Twisted Toast, but that's not toast. It's Austin Cohen. He doesn't have a wig. That is his real hair. Hey, what is your hair regimen? That's what I think a lot of people want to know. What do you do?
The most important part of the day.
Okay, walk me through that.
All right. Shower happens at 6:45.
45.
And at 7:15, when the hair is just dry enough,
Okay.
I get what's called a Smooth Viking cream. And I take my Smooth Viking cream and I go 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
That's it.
You've always had great hair, but you went through a period in time when you're like, look, let's talk about your youth, man. If you don't know Austin Cohen, one of the youngest guys to build high scaled out franchise clinics. Now, back in the day when you were building out franchise clinic, you went spiky hair, right? Was that your spiky hair era?
Short spiky hair era.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
So you learned some lessons. Never going back to the spiky hair era, probably for you.
Never going back to the spiky
And you're
hair.
never going back to franchises.
Never.
That was one of your biggest lessons learned. What was that lesson about building franchises?
You know what? It was, chiropractors are an interesting species, right? Like we're a unique breed.
Yeah.
And for us as chiropractors, like we always want to make changes to things and do things our own way. We're very like entrepreneurial in how we operate. And so it's very hard when you operating in a franchise and people want to change like every single thing as far as how it's going. You lose control over everything. It's just not worth it to do it that way.
Did you feel like you were also just kind of having to always sell another one too? Like that's the thing I hear about franchises is like constant stage of selling.
I never felt like that, but people who people thought that's what I wanted, which wasn't true.
So every time Austin Cohen came around, they're like, he's going to try to sell a franchise.
I don't care if you join our company or not, by the way. But you know what? It's been good because if you have a franchise, like there's this one group of people that, all right, they own the franchise and there's a group who are part of the corporate stores. And then the people of the franchise start questioning everything and they maybe start doing things a little bit differently and they don't feel like it's part of the group. One of our core values is better together.
Yeah.
And so I never felt like that core value was aligned whenever there was this separation of corporate versus franchise stores. And so, you know, we were a franchise for only 6 months. I shut it down.
I thought it was that longer.
It was so fast. No, we were doing these licensee agreements, but because of like the way laws work, we did have to legally, we did have to do a franchise.
So that's what most guys that come out, and I mean guys, and I hate to say it. I mean, we'll talk about some female stuff too, because that's going to come up here. But most dudes and dudettes, it's like, I got something. Let's franchise it. That's stupid for the most part.
I'm not going to say what's stupid and what's not. For me, it doesn't work.
That's the whole point of the show, dude.
But who's doing it that works? Like that's the problem. Like, okay, the Joint has a model that seems to work for a certain demographic. And there's like groups that are out there right now that I just don't see the franchise model working in our profession, especially when they start allowing non-chiropractors to own them.
Yeah.
That's a huge problem to me.
Yeah.
That's like when you start to, you show me your true colors when that starts happening, because now what you're really showing me is what matters to you more is the financial gains rather than like growth of the profession, impact of the profession. A non-chiropractor who, as a business operator, does not know how to work with chiropractors.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to do.
Yeah.
We're a unique species. That's what I said earlier. We're interesting, man.
When you look at what you got now, one of the things that came out of when I was at Growth Summit, third Growth Summit, which I was looking back at the pictures, man, and it's like so fun to see like the growth of the summit. It's getting hard to fit everyone into one picture. So you've reached that level. We'll talk about future Growth Summit. But I came out and I told someone, you know, Austin has it somewhat figured out on who the right doc fits are for your clinics that you hire for. And there's an interesting thing that I found with like females over 55, 60. Are you seeing a trend with that?
What is this trend you're seeing?
The docs that you have 2 female docs, don't you, that are over 50 or just one?
Oh, I have one.
Oh, yeah, one.
Yeah.
But and a shout out to Erin Tahir, who I haven't talked to in a long time, but she had a similar kind of, I see a pattern with, hey, they're not men. They want to like, what is the right fit for a doc who just wants to be a subluxation slayer? Because I think there's that like part where you get like a young dude who's like, well, why the fuck would I still work for you when I could just go open up my own clinic? Like, and I look at like 55-year-old women who are like, I like my schedule. I like to work. Like, is there a pattern there?
Dude, listen, I don't think there's a pattern, but here's what I do see is like, if I were to go into a room, that room right there, we were in Growth Summit, there's 85 chiropractors that were there. It was a sold out room. And if I said in this room, I said, who here is the visionary of their practice? What percent of the 85 exactly are they visionaries? Show me what you've done vision in the last 5 years. Show me what's different about your practice that's different than every other chiropractic practice that's out there right now. Many of y'all want to be the visionary, but you're not a visionary. You're actually an integrator. And actually, theoretically, you could financially have a higher gain by operating with a visionary in another clinic. Maybe you're not the owner. Maybe you're actually the COO of a clinic and you're working with the founder as a CEO. To me, I do think there are a smaller percent of chiropractors that should be owners of their clinic.
Yeah.
But
It's a really hard spot because you got a lot of guys out there who are like, I don't want to be a boss, but I don't want someone to boss me. And I don't like people. That's the weirdest thing when I hear.
But they want to own a clinic.
How'd you get into this business when you're like, I don't like people?
Because I've spoken to recently, now that I've been working with chiropractors since January 1. Dude, the last 7 weeks of my life has been crazy. We got to go into that in a little bit. But over the last 7 weeks, I've talked to a lot of chiropractors. And I say, oh, how many docs do you have in your practice? And they're like, 1. And they're like mid-40s to 50 years old. And I'm thinking in my brain, they actually may have done better operating under like somebody like me or some of like my friends who have like really successful like brands and treat their people really well. They could have actually financially done better and had a little bit more freedom too as well, by the way, in their life with less stress.
Well, I mean,
see that a lot.
I would, if I was a doc, I'd want to work for Austin. I think a lot of people want to work with you, and you've been working with a lot of people. So the last 7 weeks has been a run.
Oh, I got to share this.
The run.
So my theme, I have a theme this year. It's contract to expand. What does that mean? It means if it's not serving me well, it's got to go. There was a clinic of ours that wasn't doing well. And January 2nd, I drove up there. I shut that down, dude. Drove up the U-Haul. I left at 4 a.m. I got there by, it was like 7 to 8 o'clock in the morning, filled up the U-Haul, dropped everything off back in Atlanta, back at my house by midnight, dude. Fuck it. Done. Then we go straight into the next 4 weeks. I'm doing on-sites for all my coaching clients who I have. Hawaii, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Dallas, Texas, right? Like massive travel that's happening, by the way, in this time frame. Yeah. February 5th comes along, Growth Summit, which is like the largest, like this massive chiropractic event. I would argue best business chiropractic event.
It is right now the best business chiropractic.
100% agree.
And you did it with really by yourself. You didn't have a team helping you out kind of like in a way that like you had more support the first year. And it seems like you just got everything like let it flow. Anyways.
Yeah, just let it flow. And then in January, I started cohort 1 of my Freedom Accelerator program.
Yeah.
And I just got here to Phoenix straight from Tulum because I was with my business mastermind guys who I mastermind with every week, which by the way, if you get my newsletter, you'll hear about that. And I was on my last podcast recently was developing a group of people who are like-minded like you and having like structured meetings and structured retreats of people who aren't going to say, hey, like if they see something hey, you're doing fine, dude. You're doing okay. Like when you bring an idea to them, we're like, hey, you're working too hard, Tristan. The things you don't want to hear, right? These guys will challenge me. If I'm complaining about employees, it's like, well, what are you going to do about it? Because you're a tailboard leader. And so they're willing to call it. But that's been the last 7 weeks, man. It's been and we start cohort 2, starts next Friday, February 27th. So whenever this comes out, starts February 27th at 1 o'clock, sold out 20 group people. So man, this profession's changing, man, in a good way. There's just so much good things that I'm starting to see people really starting to shift their mindset, turning into better leaders. Back in the days, it was all about volume. How many do you see? What's your volume? Then I started going to this one seminar I went to one time, and it was like, I do $100,000 a month, $200,000 a month.
All right,
who cares?
You don't want to name the seminar?
No, I'm not going to name the seminar.
Come on.
It was the room was blue. But listen, man, like at the end of the day, it was
I dealt with that at DE. I'm gonna call it out. I remember when me and Grant and Dennis were there one day.
Where at
DE? Ed Gigliotti came up to Grant and was like, man, you gotta be doing. Their whole thing was more volume. It was such a funny thing because Grant was like, first of all, I would never let anyone scan my people but me. They did insight scan.
Oh yeah.
Or no, what's the one for the upper cervical guys? The other one. But you guys will know. And Ed's like, no, I let all my people scan my people. And Grant was like, fuck that. I would never let anyone else but me. I'm the doctor. And I really respected Grant on that. But we were doing the math and it was like, you got 7 employees. Like that thing now is you're one of the people that's kind of the leaders of like, you got to measure like, what's your cost per room? What's your cost per employee? Like all these metrics, it was just crazy. They're not looking at, they're just going numbers. And there's a point in time where you're like you're paying to treat your people because you're not actually profiting. Like I've had people that come through and go, well, man, my CA sold a 10 block of for Black Friday for $890, $89 a visit. And we're at Close for Chiro right now, which I think is one of the best training programs besides just sales trainings, but get your numbers down. So they talk about ASL. And we did an ASL for this clinic and it was like $74. They're in Huntington Beach, California, so they need to be making at least $150 per office visit.
So the clinic you're talking about, where the doctor was like, "Yeah, is he the owner of the practice? Who's like the only one who wants to scan it?"
Yeah,
right. So probably not a visionary.
Yeah,
maybe a really good operator.
Grant's not a visionary. No,
I don't know who that is, but like maybe operator, good clinician. But if he's the owner, it's up to him then to see that bottleneck and hire a visionary for the practice.
Right.
Then, like, that's the next hire.
But the point is, there's also the like cost per employee ratio of like running. You're like, I'm gonna have 7 girls scanning my patients all day, and you're paying $15 to $20.
If you look at employees as cost, then you got to figure out your leadership skills.
Okay.
Employees should make you money. That is employees don't cost me anything.
Okay.
By the way, I mean,
all right.
and if they do, that's on me.
So if you're okay,
right.
I wanna come to a couple of things that you shed a light on at Growth Summit that made me go, freedom.
Yeah.
Your talk about, hey man, I thought freedom was gonna be basically me on a beach in Belize.
Yeah, man. So
and not actually planning out your freedom.
I am somebody who I'm very good. I feel like one thing I'm really good at, I think, is self-awareness, right? Like, I don't know everything, and I can look within. And if you were to say, hey, Austin, the way you spoke to me, whatever, I can look within and evaluate that and say, you know what, man, I fucked up. You're right. I should have spoken to you.
You're Ryan.
I'm sorry about that.
He's Ryan from The Office.
Yeah.
I value feedback.
I don't even know who that is either, but
some people will get
that. Most people understand. The people who are hermits like me, who live in a, you live in a gym and work. That's all you know.
I'll see the
But it is interesting. So a few years ago, I was going through a self-reflection exercise, and one of my coaches asked me, he said, write out what does your best day look like? Like, if you could have the best day ever, what would you do? And we write it out. And for me, it was, I would wake up in Italy. We would go on a yacht, like across the, Amalfi Coast, and we would go fishing and then have lunch. And I would take a siesta at like 3:00. And then and then after that exercise, by the way, we then started to do some more personal development work. And we got really clear actually on what are our values and what are the things that we love to do in our lives. Yeah. And then about 4 hours later, he's like, you know what? I want y'all to do this. I want now you to rewrite what your ideal day looks like. And I was like, all right, you know what? Fuck it. I go to the gym at 5:30. I love it. I love working out early. I work out at 5:30. I take my kids to school. I make breakfast for them. My wife and I have breakfast with each other. I go to work. I adjust from 10 to 12. I have lunch with my team. I go back to work from 2 to 3:30.
Yeah.
I pick up my kids from school. We play sports. And then I'm usually in bed by 7:30, 8:30, right? And then he goes, so why can't you do that now? It's like, well, I guess I could. He's like, so then fucking do it. And I was like, man, you know what? That was such a good reflection, because so many of us, our belief systems are that what we want as our best day ever is going to be in Spain, the Amalfi Coast, the Bahamas, Portugal, like wherever it is. But if you go deep in like core values of things that are really important to you in your life, we're all closer than we think we are. And I would assume for most of us, it really isn't. Like, living, thousands of miles away from our family and all of these things.
Well,
break
plus,
core values.
If you never experienced it, you might not have a value for it too. It's like to live like, and there's a point in time, like I know I always loved what you talked about the first Growth Summit with the expansion and contraction stuff. There's a point in time, like, when you do a vacation, what does a vacation look like to you now do you have boundaries of work where you don't let it come in?
I try to, but it's very hard it's very, very difficult right now for that to happen.
Is that asked of you by your spouse or your family though?
No, not at all.
They're not like, hey, dad, hey, husband, I need you. I need your present time consciousness now.
If I'm with my kids, I'm not, if you're my child, I'm not like this and you're talking to me.
Yeah.
There's definitely, that is going away for sure. If I need to step away at dinner or, step away, if there's a call, for example, like if you and I need to take a call, I'm not at the pool taking that call. I'm usually going to walk away in that moment. I just don't want my kids to always see me on the phone working.
Yeah.
I also want them to understand though, like, if you want to get to a certain place in your career, you gotta fucking work, man. Like, I grind, dude. Like, I'm grinding right now. And you know what's been interesting is I thought I was grinding before, and but here's what I realized, I was wasting time though.
Yeah.
I've become so intentional with my time now. If you look at my calendar right now, for example, I talked to my Empire Group clients this. On my calendar on Tuesdays, 4:30, play around the world basketball with my son. I have to, what I'm doing now is I'm building in every single thing about how I want my week to look like, and then working towards that, but then slowly just like adding every single thing. And so like at 4:30, like I don't do work from 4:30 to 5.
Yeah, okay.
We play basketball outside. But like that stuff has got to be put into my schedule, because everything is like building out the Freedom Accelerator program, my coaching calls with my doctors, my weekly calls with my office managers, Empire coaching that happens every week. We're building out our live event in June, Growth Summit 2027, Adventure Summit. There's just so much happening right now in a good way that I've got to be very intentional with everything. Otherwise, what ends up happening is people do what? They burn out, right? Like I'm not going to burn out. So,
well, as long as I love that you're talking about values and alignment there. How do you reward yourself though? Like, cause we talked after and Growth Summit was an amazing experience. People walked away from it saying this exact same things. This is the best, such a great mixture of experiences, fire hosing when fire hosing was needed, workshopping when workshopping was needed. It was the best keynote. It wasn't really the keynote, but it was the best workshop closeout experience I ever saw, teaching people how to do content on Instagram. That was beyond
cool.
measurement.
The best part?
Yeah.
He raised how much?
Remember? $26,000,
$26,000, man, for kids with disabilities and cancer to fulfill their life dreams.
How do you enjoy what you're building now? Because it's not about the money.
No, not at all. Yeah. So, by the way, and nothing I've ever done was about money.
Yeah.
For example, okay, just so you know.
Yeah.
If there was anything I've ever tried to do for money, it is not around anymore, by the way. Okay. It doesn't exist. Yeah. I started a coffee shop that was a yoga bulletproof coffee shop. Failed. Started a PI clinic. Failed. These were all for financial gains, by the way. Yeah. But like Growth Summit was never financial gains. It was because of the mission. Exactly. Growth Summit was all the events that I saw that weren't like things I wanted to go to. Or
there's a chip on your shoulder. I think there has to be a chip on your shoulder for every entrepreneur to go, I'm doing this because. So that was a chip. Okay.
Yeah. And so like in Chiro 80, we had Chiro 80 in our practice for 5 years before we even licensed chiropractors use it. It was never for financial gains to build it. It was built for corrective chiropractic. But anything you ever see from me, by the way, was always like not for financial gains, but it eventually did turn into something that has been really good. Now, so reward. So Tristan said something to me. He goes, Growth Summit was a huge event for me. And a lot of people signed up for the Freedom Accelerator program. They re-signed up for, Growth Summit, there's only 6 people at Growth Summit out of 85 people that didn't rebook their ticket for 2027.
That's crazy, dude. That's really great.
79 people rebooked.
Yeah.
It was insane. But Tristan said something. He said, you need to reward yourself. And I was like, man. And at this point, I was such on adrenaline when I talked to you, by the way. So what did I do? Booked a family trip.
Oh, cool, dude. To Grand Cayman. Great place to go.
So in April, I'm taking my family to the Grand Cayman Islands. We're splurging on a trip. And we're doing that as a way to also show our kids that like, hey, February was we worked so hard to do what we did in February.
This is what comes out of it.
This trip you guys are on right now is like a result of the celebration of the hard work that we've put in since February. So we just want you guys to know, like when you work hard, these are things that can happen.
You've been a model for me, man, and I always tell you this behind the scenes. I share in front of the scenes too, but like as the integrator of your life with family and building businesses, I love that you are even more consumed with how you spend and invest your time. So grateful for you to share some space with me. I myself even find myself now looking at things. How do you say no to things that you might be even going in your head? Fuck, should I be taking that call? Do you have a special thing that maybe you do to bounce off ideas, or you say like, well, I'm not going to say no, but I need to have this distilled down? Because you probably get pitched all the time now too.
It's been crazy. And it's all the people that back in my early days that I reached out to that
now
never gave me time. Yeah, they're like, hey, can we do this event with you? Hey, let's connect. I'm like, whoa. I remember when I was a little guy. And now you want to be the tough guy, huh? No, dude. So here's what's interesting is I did an exercise that I talked about at Growth Summit. That was one of those transformational exercises in my career. Yeah. And it all was all about filtering things out, right? Contracting to expand was same concept. I went through my calendar. It was in January. I remember doing this. I looked at my calendar. I'm like, all right, these meetings don't add value. We're just having these to check a box. Yeah. These meetings don't have value. I deleted every single meeting out of my calendar. And what I did was I looked at every single meeting of like, all right, I need to spend my time wisely. I'm doing these meetings to check a box. Before I add that meeting back in, because I do need to add it back in, we are going to build the most badass agenda for this meeting. And it's going to have high attention where people walk away from this thinking that was worth my time. Yeah. Right now, before, I would bet people would say, if I said scale 1 to 10, how would you rate this meeting? You can't use a 7. They'd all say, like a 5. That's like, I'm wasting people's time. That's not fair to them. So what I realized that we had to do was be very intentional with that. And so when people do call me, yes, what I will say, it depends on what they're wanting too, by the way, right? Like you're just like, hey, if you could just like, let me know what you're looking for.
Do you if you even see the term in a text or a DM?
I know what you're gonna say. No, you can no, you're not picking my brain.
Okay.
Join Chiro 80.
Yeah.
Join Freedom Accelerator program. Yeah. Spend 4 days with me at Adventure Summit, Teton Crest Trail, or Come and Grow Summit. I'm like in the process right now of trying to think about how to package this because I really have a really good thing here, right? Like if I had every year, I'm gonna have like my next program, by the way, like right now, everyone's doing the Freedom Accelerator program where it's like they have these high revenue practices, but they feel unstable because every month they're starting at zero.
Yeah.
And so the number one question I ask when I buy a clinic is how much recurring revenue do you have? That's why I built this
Which
8-week
is
program.
everything that private equity is looking
Exactly.
at.
I don't study chiropractors, right?
Yeah.
Like I talked about the growth summit. I only study other businesses, and that's the number one thing they look at is the MRR. And so, which is the monthly recurring revenue. So what I wanted to do was build that program. It's 8 weeks, 90-minute calls. My next program I'm building right now is all about employee retention, dude. This one's going to be big.
Yeah.
This is going to be big. So this is all about how to assess, how to get when they accept the job, what they're anticipating, how they go through every single phase of the employee journey until they get to the part where they're advocating for your business. And I'm going to take them through the entire 8-week journey of that. So I think if people did my 4 programs with me, that's 32 weeks of coaching. They come to Growth Summit. They're Chiro-native clients, so they get on my monthly growth calls, and they come to Adventure Summit to do the hard shit that like really matters outside of the classroom, like be on the mountain with me. Dude, that's transformational life right there, man. And I'm figuring a way to like package that all together.
You
know what I
got
mean?
real access to Austin on that. I want to go back to advocating for your business, because I grew up in that period of the Mercedes 80s, and our number one referral source in my father's clinic was Kathy Delaney, our OMCA. They didn't have Facebook ads. They didn't have websites. They didn't have fucking anything, but they had people bringing people in droves. Is that what you mean by advocating for your practice?
No, no. So great example. You were at Growth Summit.
Yeah.
One of the things that I learned that I didn't even know was going to be one of the most impactful things at people at Growth Summit was when we got down to talking about culture and we started talking about core values.
Yeah.
And I went around the room. Do you remember what I did? I asked if you were in the room.
Yeah.
I said to my employees, I said,
what are the values here?
So what's your number one core value at our company? And one guy goes, better together. And one lady goes, a FOFO. One guy goes, PPI.
Oh,
they knew the language, right?
Yeah.
So they know the language of the company. Like, and everyone said to me after, like, they're like, holy crap. That to me was transformational. My team doesn't even know we have core values, but we did it to check a box.
They could even do chiropractic values on most our
That's true too. So it was interesting that was such a big takeaway. So those are advocates for my team. They didn't get paid to be there, by the way, that weekend. They showed up. They helped out. They brought people like who were in the Empire program to their VIP table. They helped out at the dinner. My recent hire, office manager from one of my Woodstock offices, the guy Andrew who you met, his recent office manager is referred from my office manager in Buckhead. That's an advocate. They want other people to work where they work.
Okay.
It's like patients who refer. If you have a practice that people aren't referring, we got a problem.
Huge.
So same thing, right? Like, why are they advocating for your practice of why they'd want to work there? That OM you had was an advocate.
Got it. Okay. Now, private equity. We're here. Probably got another 20 years in this bubble. What do you think the multipliers and numbers are going to be like? And what is Austin Cohen's number? Like, if BlackRock comes over to you tomorrow, X, 9X, are you taking it? And then I got a question that follows on top of that.
So you're not going to believe me on this answer, and you're probably going to think I'm just saying this to sound good on camera, and I'm really not. It would have to be enough, and I would talk to my team first, and also want to let them know like what's happening, and make them part of that too as well. By the way,
because do you think the future of that's going to destroy chiropractic? Is it inevitable?
Depends who leads it. Put me in it. It's not going to be destroyed. And I've always thought about like some of these companies that have been doing pretty poor recently. And I've always thought, man, if I was the CEO of that company, I could really help. Like some of these chiropractors who have been screwed by multiple like franchise groups and all these different organizations that are out there. Dude, they're in like so much debt. Some of them had to file bankruptcy. So now they can't get loans. They can't work with and like that shit pisses me off really bad, by the way. Like that really pisses me off. It sometimes makes me want to go into these big companies, become a CEO of these like chiropractic companies, and then just have like massive people that I can help and that can rebuild their lives
in dentistry, we see it. The joke, kind of the meme of dentistry private equity is they made hygiene appointments from an hour to 45 minutes. That was the big. So it's all about scale and efficiency, right? That's what private equity dudes are going to want. You already are about that, which is efficient capacity and making, profit per the best. I mean, you need to be in profit, but you're also about culture.
100%.
Right. So
it's part of one of my growth engines.
Yeah. So, you're helping to build these clinics that I think are going to be what I call exit ready, or at least positioned for better exits. What would you tell someone is the number that they should be looking at right now, because we're not in the era like this is 10 years ago. You and I had this conversation. We wouldn't be having this conversation.
You're right.
And remember, selling a practice back in the day was like maybe you get 1.5 of what the year was.
So this is a good conversation right now. So I always tell everyone who has a clinic, I'm like, hey, you always build it to sell. Maybe your goal is not to sell it tomorrow. It doesn't matter. It should be available for a sale at some point. How do you do that? Number one question I ask first thing is insurance versus cash.
Yeah.
Okay. Then once I hear that number, then I go into the recurring revenue.
Yeah.
What percent of your practice is recurring revenue? My next question then becomes, all right, what percent of the practice do you adjust versus the other doctor? Because the multiple, there's a lot of things that matter, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not just like, oh, well, my practice does $600,000, so we want 150, we want, whatever, 1.25 or 2x of like our whatever margins. It doesn't work like that. In this profession, at least, and by the way, you may say, well, that is how it works. Okay, how many clinics have you bought? Okay, I bought a lot. Probably more than most chiropractors that are practicing right now, I would assume, that are not like private.
I want to come back to that too. Yeah.
But hold on. So I'm asking those questions, and then I want to go deep into the numbers too as well. So then obviously I got to look at profit margin. So I'll give you some quick math. Okay. So there's one practice that we just bought. It was doing about 450 to 550, and I bought it for 250. Low, no recurring revenue, insurance driven, dependent on one doctor. That's all they got. There was another practice that was for sale, and it does like 350, and they wanted like 300 for it. Okay.
Okay.
I offered $50,000. No x-ray. EHR wasn't even installed in that practice.
Yeah.
There was no other doctor in there.
Tomorrow it could be gone.
The other doctor was like 75 years old.
You're buying equipment.
Yeah. And their argument was, and this is not an argument, by the way, whenever you're a practice trying to sell to a buyer. Yeah, but I have 10,000 files in here from 50 years ago. Okay.
They're coming back.
They're not coming back. Half of them are probably dead, by the way. And it's like, nobody cares. Like I always said, I said this at Grow Summit where
the impact that you made.
When I was 15, I ran like a 5-minute mile. So no one's going to pick me up on their team right now because Austin Cohen 30 years ago ran a 5-minute mile. No one cares. No one fucking cares.
Yeah.
Same thing. Like, I don't give a shit if you have 1,000,000 files.
Of this episode, Austin maybe has swore more than me this time. So
this is the only podcast I can do that, get away with it.
I want to talk about you going up and getting the U-Haul, and I was telling someone about this. What is your commitment to a clinic? Like, I want to give an example. There's someone I've been working with who they opened up 30 minutes away. It's completely different market. They care about time, not about money, versus most of the clinics they work with, they care about money, not time. So it's a different avatar that they're working with. It's just not working. They're fledgling. They're not growing. There's other things that factor into you going into that clinic, but what are your factors that go, I'm going to commit to this for X amount of time and then I'm going to pull either the band. How do you work that flow in your head? That I'm done with this? And how do I know that I'm killing it?
So here's what's interesting. All right, you have kids now.
Yeah.
Right? If your kids were making D's and they weren't trying at all, would that bother you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they were making C's and D's, but you saw they were working their ass off.
Still bothers me, but
But not as much, right?
Yeah.
I'm actually the same way. So there's no like exact math to this, just like there's not on multiples, right?
Yeah.
If I have a clinic CEO who's trying really hard and they're committed to the process, and like a few months goes by and they're barely breaking even, I'm still willing to work with them.
Yeah.
Like, I'm cool with this. Because I know how close they are to that next level. And I've seen this many times.
Yeah.
They're very close to that next level of massive growth. That's cool by me. Okay. If they're not trying, they're not on our doctor's calls, they didn't come to Growth Summit, they're not asking questions that I think are important to be asking, then most likely what's going to happen is they're going to get fired.
You go and kill that. But do you look at that market still like, shit, that was a market that we could have thrived in and I'm going to try again? Or?
I've only ever shut down 2 clinics in my entire career.
Okay.
Yeah. I shut down King of Prussia in Philadelphia because that chiropractor was going to work for his family.
Yeah.
And
so you don't look at the market. You're not like, oh, I missed the market. The market.
No.
Okay.
I don't care. Yeah. But like, it's crazy, right? Like, one of my practices is in Buckhead, Atlanta, which is like the bougiest place ever. And then I've got another practice in Newberry, South Carolina. It's like 20,000 people. Who knows how like the average income of that is? Obviously got to be super low. Like, I don't look at things
that
like
doesn't go in your head. Dude.
I don't even think about it.
That's awesome.
Don't even think about it. Never.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Should I? I don't know.
You would think that that's what would be part of the puzzle pieces. Like my question, that's why I was asking this question, is like, do you kill it? And you're like, but fuck, we could have killed it there. That's a really good indicating factor of what you believe in and what you know. It's not about the market. It doesn't matter what the market is. It matters what the culture is of everything you've been preaching and the leadership.
Are there other chiropractors probably in those markets doing very well?
Yeah.
So obviously it's not the market.
It's not the market.
Right. So like I always look at things like that. And listen, dude, like I'm a big one book I read that changed my life was The Four Agreements.
Yeah.
Have you read that?
You've been pushing that on me for a while. Oh, and Melba loves that book.
Does
she always talks about that. Yeah.
You don't take these personally.
Yeah.
You don't make assumptions.
Yeah.
You always do your best and you tell the
Yeah.
truth. Like, and I think in our profession, people assume a lot.
Yeah.
Like they probably assume that because I work so much, I don't play with my kids. That's probably a false assumption, right? That's out there.
Which is completely different.
Obviously, it's completely false, right? My daughter's on my podcast. She spoke at my event. I coach my son's baseball team. Like I'm highly involved with my family.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, or like take things personally, right? Like same thing, right? It's like practice shuts down. Move on.
Move on.
I just don't stress about. I mean, I don't know, man. I just don't stress about a lot of these things.
One last thing I want to say, you gave me I hated rocks, or what's that, EOS meetings.
EOS.
I've hated it for years, but I finally figured out everywhere else I was ever doing EOS meetings wasn't doing them the right, correct way. You guys are doing EOS meetings the right, correct way.
Yeah, what a concept.
So if you're on, what's up, Kat? We got a surprise guest. My wife walking in. We're at Close for Chiro. Okay, last kind of little bit things. Let's talk about what you got cooked up. You got Adventure Summit. I just saw you film an ad for. You got filled up on your accelerator program.
Yep. Cohort 3 will start. So our next cohort will probably start at the beginning of April.
Okay. How do they get in? Who's the right fit?
The right fit is if you're looking at your practice right now and you're doing decent revenue, high revenue, but things feel unstable, you have got to do this. If your recurring revenue is lower than 15%, you got to be in there. Even 25%. I mean, just anybody who wants to build a scaled practice really should be on this call. You're spending 12 hours. I'm literally spending 12 hours coaching these groups, and the results have been insane. Like, a bunch of obviously guys who are in the group right now who have done very well with it. And it's funny, like everyone's like sharing what's happening. And in Chiro 80, here's what's interesting. For those that are Chiro 80 clients, you're going to be able to then, after you go through Freedom Accelerator program, Tim is going to install the Freedom Accelerator program plugin for your Chiro 80, where you can then build your template programs in Chiro 80. So you click one button. So let's say you build like a neck mobility program. You click one button, it'll add that in there, and then it'll automatically prescribe the exercises in Chiro 80 to the patient too as well.
Beautiful.
Oh yeah, dude, it's gold right now.
Beautiful.
So that's like one of the benefits as well. And then, I mean, listen, the next thing is Adventure Summit. I mean, there's 5 spots left. We sold out last year, 16 guys at the Grand Canyon. There's about 5 spots left for that. You got to be registered by April 1st. It'll probably sell out before then. But that is, to me, like, you can learn. You can go on ChatGPT as much as you want. You can listen to him. You can listen to me. It doesn't matter. You can sit and Grow Summit. I don't care. That's the easy stuff to do. The hard stuff is come with me on that mountain. And when you're at mile like 18 to 22, or whatever mile number it is for you, that's really where the true test comes into play for how hard can you push, how hard can you grind, and where do you think about quitting? And then you kind of break through to that next level of yourself. That shit shows up every single area of your life. And we do it every year. So like a bunch of the guys who came to the Grand Canyon, now they're coming to Teton. And then next year they'll come to the next thing. And if you think about it, it's like, everyone remembers the hard, like you may remember, if I asked you, I was like, what was the hardest year of your life, man?
Honestly, it was maybe last year. Okay. Honestly, because of the transition of having to take on finally leadership versus just being an integrator.
Do you remember how much you did in revenue or not yet?
Yeah, but I remember when but
but that was a recent year, by the way. But my point is that like, if I look back, if you asked me over the last 10 years, like, what are the highlights of your years, the last 10 years? What I would say to you, that's
happiest moments. I don't even know what.
2015, I did Ironman Florida. 2016 was Ironman Chattanooga. Then I did the Alcatraz in 18. 2020 ran 100 miles. 22 Navy SEAL training. 25 Grand Canyon. But those are really hard moments that made me push. Ask me about the last 5K I did. I don't freaking know.
Yeah.
It didn't challenge me.
Yeah.
When you do things that are really hard and things that challenge you, you will never forget that for the rest of your life. And those are things that get you to the next level, man.
Dude, what are you going to talk about with the crew at Close for Chiro this weekend?
Yeah, so we're talking about my favorite number in the world, which is the
black hole.
You got it, brother. That's exactly what we're talking about today. And understanding what a bleeding clinic looks like. Hey, listen, if your practice is under 12 on your black hole, you gotta be a Chiro 80 client.
Especially if you're a C4C guy who's got C4C dude or dudette who's getting their close rate higher, they're getting their case value higher. This is important because also you do all that work and then you lose them.
Dude, they fall through the bucket.
Visit 6 because you programmed it that way.
I mean, they're not even, think about that. They're not even getting to the first re-exam. So that means the pain maybe went away in the first 5 to 6 visits. High five, that's not chiropractic. But let's get them to at least the first re-exam. Then I teach you, how do we get them to the second re-exam? And then the third, because there is a cycle, right? It's like, to me, it's like 0 to 11, 11 to 23, 23 to 35, and then 36 plus.
Yeah.
Those are like the breakouts of the matrix that I think are really important.
Yeah.
So if you can get people and keep moving them along, and think about the math, by the way, like if you just add 5 visits, you get 20, let's say you get 20 new patients a month, and you add 5 more visits. It's 100 more visits, 80, let's say $80 a visit.
8,000, was it 80?
Yeah, it's almost $100,000 a year, dude.
Yeah.
Just by adding 5 more visits to people coming into your clinic. It's huge, man.
Simple, guys.
It's huge.
But you got to have systems.
That's what you need. And that's the hard stuff.
Chiro 180 is your tech deck system. Growth Summit is your community. Learn with other people, venture summits, build that tribe and do hard things. Accelerator program to get you guys into membership, reoccurring model. And I'm excited about the new one coming out, launch the new cohort with employees, because I think everyone it's been the last 3 to 5 years post COVID has been the worst, I think, for everyone when it comes to hiring and retaining top talent. So,
but it's the generation.
Even
it's their
finding
problem.
talent.
It's not our problem. It's them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. True. Thanks, man, for always jamming, dude.
Dude, I appreciate it, man. That was good.